It's the shades, right? You're wondering about the shades. Well, stay tuned. Hi guys, it is me, and I'm here today to show off my shades. Look at these cool shades. I got sent these shades, funny, same day my dollar store sunglasses died, by Stella Artois. Do you know why? Because I am officially an influencer. I am indeed. Stella Artois very kindly sent me a bunch of swag. They sent a very nice baseball cap, which my daughter has immediately co-opted. They sent me those sunglasses, which are awesome, and I just killed my sunglasses. So these look pretty nifty, I'm not going to lie. They're not Tom Ford, but, you know, they do the trick. Polarized. And also two of these swaggy glasses. Now, Stella Artois. These are called the Chalice. When you have Stella Artois in Europe, I don't know if it's the same in America, I haven't seen it, you get glasses like this. Your beer gets served in a glass like this, and they put it upside down in this wonderful stainless steel thing that squirts clean water in it. It's called cleansing the chalice. And then they pour a big tap of Stella Artois, and you get a knife, and they scrape it off the edge. It's a beautiful ritual, and I enjoy rituals. But I just thought I'd make a quick video to talk about Stella Artois. My relationship with Stella Artois. You might think that's a bit odd to have a relationship with a beer, but actually I do. So I was quite amused. I posted a picture of some pizza that I cooked, and I had a bottle of Stella Artois in the background because I like Stella Artois. And the folks from Stella Artois very kindly reached out to me, said, can we use this photo and we'll send you some swag, and they sent it to me, and I'm like, hey, I'm an influencer. But the thing that really got me is, this is one of those occasions where social media and the algorithms and all that stuff people are always paranoid about and stuff, it actually tells one a truth about oneself that we might not have admitted. So I've made a video about my favourite beer, which is Sam Adams Boston Lager. And I talk about beer a lot, and I used to do some beer videos with a friend of mine and stuff like that. And when Stella Artois reached out for me, I stopped and thought for a bit. I was like, you know what? I might say that Sam Adams is my favourite beer, and I guess if I had to choose a beer that I was going to drink the rest of my life, it'd probably be that. But now I think about it, now I objectively think about it, over the course of my life drinking beer, and it's very difficult to underestimate the amount of beer I have drunk, because I really, 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 really like beer. I really like it. I honestly think I've drunk more Stella Artois than any other type of beer. I mean, certainly the last 5 years, I've drunk quite a lot of beer. I have drunk quite a lot of beer, I'm not going to lie about that fact. But I would almost say, and this is not beyond the realms of possibility, for every beer that I've drunk from another beer manufacturer, I have drunk a bottle of Stella Artois. I honestly think it's like a 50-50 ratio, and I didn't even think about it till recently, but I've always liked Stella. I really have always liked Stella, and it's funny, those beer videos, my little bottle opener here from Adult Beverages, that he used to make. When my mate who had those on his channel wanted me to edit a bunch of videos in a short space of time, he wouldn't pay me, he'd give me a case of Stella Artois, 12 bottles of Stella Artois, and I'd be like, alright then, this is on. And I'd do it. And it's weird, because like in the past I've been offered money to do things like, can you edit this video, $200 or whatever, and then people changed it to, I'll buy you a case of Stella, and I would do it for the Stella. I wouldn't do it for the money, because I'm not really that motivated by money. I mean, what could you do with $200? You could probably buy 10 cases of Stella. But there's something about it, it's always indulgent to buy a case of beer. I buy beer on a fairly regular basis, not going to lie, not going to be dishonest, but buying a case of beer, then you're like, I'm going to buy a case of beer, and you normally only do it for like parties or something like that. So it's wonderfully indulgent, and Stella Artois was the beer. It wasn't Red Stripe, it wasn't Heineken, it wasn't any other type, it was always Stella Artois. And maybe he knew me better than I knew myself, and maybe social media knows me better than I know myself. Because yeah, now I sit down and think about it, it's always been Stella Artois. It's always been Stella Artois. In fact, I'm going to commemorate this by opening a bottle of Stella Artois. I like beer. I think that should be the first thing that we need to talk about. I really enjoy beer. I grew up on a farm. And on a farm, you get up early in the morning and you do a bunch of physical labour, and by the end of the day, you're quite tired. Or by lunchtime, you're quite tired. And do you know what is the best energy drink? Tell you what, it's not Red Bull or Monster, it's beer. Beer is the perfect energy drink. Because what is beer? Well, it's Stella Artois. I think it's 5% ethanol alcohol, which is great. That's like rocket fuel. And the rest is like a perfect fermented heaven of simple carbs and alcohol. And you drink this, and I mean, I don't know about me, I drink a lot of beer. I like beer a lot, but it's never been about the alcohol. It's always been about, you drink a beer and you're just like, oh yeah, it perks up. Or after a hard day's work. I remember back on the farm when I was a kid, we had a tractor. We had a Kubota tractor with a lawnmower, with a mower thing on the back, and I used to have to go and mow the top fields, and that would take hours in the blazing sun. And afterwards, you go down and you have a pint of beer, you have a pint of lager. Now, I do enjoy craft beers. I really do. I love them to bits, but I am a lager lout. I grew up in a time in Britain when things weren't very sophisticated. You went to a pub and it was like, do you want lager or bitter? You'd either have lager like this or bitter, which is the British type of beer, and I like lager. And I've always enjoyed lager. And when you move to Europe, because I was Euro trash, the Europeans really know what a lager is about. And the wonderful thing about a lager is wherever you go in the world, you're going to find a lager. When I got married in the Bahamas, I was drinking Click. And I think they call it Click. And when I was over in India a couple of years ago, it was Kingfisher. In America, you have all these craft breweries brewing these amazing IPAs and stuff like that. Budweiser is still the beer of America, and Sam Adams is a lager. It's Boston lager. Lager's the nuts. I really enjoy it. And I like lager a lot. Lager features in James Bond books. There we go. The only beer that James Bond ever seems to drink is lager, which makes sense because he's kind of like posh Eurotrash. So he drinks Lowenbrau, and he drinks Miller High Life in America, and he drinks Red Stripe. He's a lager lout. And in the movies, Heineken is the sponsored beer of James Bond. And I remember a bunch of British people like, oh yeah, like James Bond would drink some lame European lager. It's like, he definitely bloody would, mate. If he's there paying good money for Miller High Life, he would not turn down a Heineken. So yeah, lager is where it's at. I do like a nice lager. Stella Artois, let me not get ahead of myself. But first of all, let me take a sip. And I've got to hold it with this hand because I've got a light here and I keep blocking my face. There we go. Now we've established that lager is a wonderful thing. Let's talk about it. Because the problem that American craft breweries have with lager, with pills, is that pills is, by its very definition, meant to be kind of not flavourless, but drinkable. As in, it doesn't have a massive amount of flavour. And so it's been very difficult for American craft brewers to kind of nail the lager thing. There are a couple that have done a really terrific job. There's one in particular, I can't remember the name of it now. But when it comes down to it, it is the big European beer manufacturers who just get what lager is all about. And the lagers you like all have slightly different flavour profiles. And to me, this is going to sound like an alcoholic when I say this, I look at lager like lettuce. If you eat a lot of greens, which you should because it's excellent for your health and digestion. I used to be vegan for a bit, so I used to eat a ton of greens. And all of these leafy greens have alkalines in. And if you eat too much of them, it makes you sick. And the reason for this is, so herbivorous animals who would go and munch all of the greenery off a plant wouldn't devour the entire greenery of the plant because otherwise they'd poison themselves and have to go on to another plant. And as somebody who eats leafy greens every single day, you'd have to cycle your greens. You can have lettuce one day or maybe 3 days out of the week, but then you have to have spinach one day and kale the next because otherwise the alkalines will make you feel gross. And I think that's the same with lager. Lager doesn't really taste of anything, but then at the same time it has distinctive flavour profiles to it. So Stella Artois, I enjoy. I mean, let's it's quite sweet and wheaty on the when you breathe it in. And it's nice. It's very slightly hoppy, and it's got a certain sweetness to it, but it's just enjoyable to drink. And then Heineken, I think, has a slightly, beer fans might call it like skunkier undertones. And then there are the German beers. I drink I like Lowenbrau, for example, perfect example. That's bright, really crisp and clear. I like Grolsch. I really do enjoy Grolsch, but that's got a slightly different flavour profile. Pilsner Urquell, that's probably the beer I drink the second most of. It's very, very like malty. They all taste slightly different, and after a while you get sick of the flavour of one and you move on to another one. But for me, I always end up circling back to Stella Artois because I just really like the taste of it. It's just very, I would call it inoffensive. That sounds quite offensive in itself. No, but it is inoffensive. But it's delicious. It's got that slight sweetness to it. When you drink it, it's got just that right balance of like fizziness. It doesn't fill you up too much, but it gives you that perk of energy. It's a really nice beer. And I'm actually quite happy and impressed with myself to become an influencer. God, they give me a free pair of sunglasses and listen to me. I talk about myself like I'm Jake Paul or something, But it was nice to get a nod from a brand that, now I think about it, really does have a deep relationship with me. And I think that's the cool thing about brands in general. I think that's why I'm into the whole James Bond stuff. It's like the brands of Bond, you buy into them because you share their values and you appreciate them, and you represent part of yourself through the brands that you choose to wear and buy and support. I just like Barbour, for example. I mean, James Bond didn't wear Barbour because they were cool and all his mates would think they looked great. He wore Barbers because they were objectively the best wet weather coat ever made. He wore Savile Row suits, not because he wanted to impress his mates, but because those were the best suits, and they were hand-tailored. It's something about a brand that really resonates with you and means something to you is kind of a special thing, and I enjoy that relationship. And I know people might think I'm a lager lout and it's not very high class to drink Stella, but I've lived in multiple different countries. I've gone worldwide. I've had quite a few wild adventures. I've written several books. And Stella Artois was right there beside me for a lot of it. And so there we go. It's a good beer. It's a damn good beer. And I'm going to wear the sunglasses with pride. And maybe think about yourself. Why don't you drop a note down in the comments down below. What is your beer? What is your brand? What is the thing that in some ways, what is the brand that in some ways you were surprised to find out was as deeply connected to your life as it actually was, but then you were like, oh, actually that makes sense. Come on, there must be a brand for you. Let us know in the comments down below. Anyway, this is a completely meaningless video, just an excuse for me to drink a beer, but why not? In fact, while we're on the subject, Stella Artois do a very, very nice cider. Really nice cider. The Americans just got into cider. I grew up in the West Country, so I was practically raised on this stuff. But the Stella Artois, the cidre, as they call it, they do there, is very much like the cider you'd have in Normandy, which is a lot drier and less sweet than the British version. And yeah, they do a terrific version of that as well. And it's my favourite type of hard cider. You know, I really appreciate what Angry Orchard does. I like a nice bit of Strongbow sometimes, but cidre is where it's at. It's just got that dryness that I really, really enjoy. So, yeah, Stella, good job on doing what you're doing, guys. Like, seriously, I dig it. Anyway, I really have completely run out of things to say. This video is 40 minutes long and I've talked about absolutely nothing except beer, but that's it. I will make another video and speak to you again soon. Ciao! I'm Roland Hume. I've sold 67,000 copies of my books. If you want to find out how I did it, I've got the link right here you can click. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. Thank you.